Welcome back to this morning's Saturday Morning Coffee. Where this morning we are going to dive into the security awareness training that nobody remembers. So here's my Saturday morning confession. You spent $50,000 on security awareness training and your employees still can't spot a social engineering or phishing email. Your security awareness training completion rate was still and has likely always been 100%. Every employee finishes the mandatory annual course. You have reports to prove it. Compliance is happy. The board is satisfied. So now let's go sample 3 random employees on what they've learned. Watch them struggle to remember a single thing. Something about passwords. We're not supposed to click on links. Welcome to today's security awareness training paradox. Perfect completion rates, 0 retention, with no behavioral change. So what actually happens during your security training? Let me paint the real picture of your mandatory security awareness training. The first is the user experience. It's Tuesday afternoon. Your employees gets an email that states, complete your annual training by Friday, or your account will be locked. They click the link. They're presented with 45 minutes of slides, narrated by a monotone voice, stock pictures of hackers and hoodies, scenarios that have nothing to do with their actual work. A quiz at the end that lets them retry until they pass. They open it in the background. They mute the audio. They click next every 30 seconds while actually doing the job that they're paid to do. When the quiz pops up, they guess until they get to that 80% completion. Total time actually paid attention is less than 3 minutes. Time for completion certification, 45 minutes. And guess what? Their retention rate was 0. But your dashboard shows 100% completion. So your mission's accomplished, right? Not at all. So why does nobody remember anything? First, it's generic. Your training talks about not clicking suspicious links. But what does suspicious actually mean? The examples show something obvious, like Princess of Nigeria at yahoo.com. Meanwhile, the real phishing emails your employees receive are sophisticated, personalized, and look exactly like legitimate messages from their vendors, partners, or even their executives. The training doesn't prepare them for the actual threats they face. So what do? Just what you and I would do. They tune out because it's irrelevant to them. The training shows an office worker at a desktop computer receiving a suspicious attachment, but half your employees work remotely on tablets or even their phones. A quarter of them are in a manufacturing and barely use email. When training doesn't match the person's actual work environment, it feels like compliance theater, because it really is. Next, your training is annual. You get 1 shot per year to teach security awareness. Employees sit through it, likely in October during Awareness Month, and forget everything before Thanksgiving. And they spend the next 11 months making the same mistakes you just trained them on. So compare this to any skill you actually retain. You don't learn to drive by watching a 45-minute video once a year. You practice repeatedly with intermediate feedback. Additionally, your training is very passive. You click through slides, you watch a video, you answer some multiple choice questions. This is the least effective way to teach anything. Your brain is designed to learn by doing, through making mistakes, through experiential examples, or even the consequences. Security training that's just information delivered will never stick. Additionally, your training has no consequences. When your employees click a suspicious link in real life, nothing immediately happens, usually that is. The ransomware doesn't deploy instantly. Their credentials that are stolen may not even be obvious. So there's no feedback loop and no consequences. Without that, it's hard to change. Your metrics, they lie. Your dashboards show 100% completion rate. Their average score was 92. And there's improvement year over year. Meanwhile, if you look at your actual security metrics, they tell a different story. The phishing simulation click rate is probably at a 30%. The password reuse may be as high as 78%. Suspicious emails reported per month are 12. And your company's like 1,000 people. And there's exceptions coming in daily. The training metrics should measure activity. Your security metrics measure behavior. What actually changes behavior? Let's look at what actually works and it's nothing like what most organizations are doing. Your training should be frequent, bite-sized learning. Instead of 45 minutes once a year, try 2 to 3 minutes once a month. Micro learning that fits into their natural workflow. A quick video, a relevant example, a single concept to remember. Your brain will retain this information much quicker with spaced out repetition, not through one massive data dump. Use real-world examples from your actual organization. Like last week, 3 people in finance received an email that looked like it came from our CFO requesting a wire transfer. Here's what it looked like, and here's what was suspicious about it. When the training that you use is actual examples from your environment, it becomes immediate relevant instead of an abstract to them. Implement practice. Send a simulated phishing email 2 days after training. When someone clicks, show them immediately why it was suspicious and what they should have done differently. That's how learning actually works. Action, consequences, correction, and then you repeat. Use positive reinforcement. Most security training is shame-based. Don't be the person who causes a breach. This creates fear and defensiveness, not learning. Instead, you should celebrate people who report their suspicious emails. Recognize the teams with improved security metrics. Make security awareness something people feel good about participating in. You need role-specific content. The finance team deals with wire transfers, while HR will deal with fake job applicants trying to steal information. Your engineering team will deal with supply chain attacks on open source packages. The one-size-fits-all is a one-size-fits-nobody. Tailor content to what people actually encounter in their roles. When you do your simulated reality check, think about this. Here's the uncomfortable truth about phishing sims. What company think they're actually mattering is how many employees are aware enough to spot a phish. What they're actually measuring is how many employees happen to be paying close attention when this particular email arrived. Your click rate on phishing simulation tells you almost nothing about your awareness and almost everything about attention, context, and timing. Someone who aces their simulation at 10 a.m. when they're alert may fail the same test at 4 p.m. when they're rushing to leave to go home. Are they unaware, or are we just humans? So your best approach would be use simulations for training with immediate feedback, not testing, i.e. for punishment. So here's a Saturday morning experiment for you. Want to know if your security training actually works? Try this. Don't announce it. 3 months after your annual training, send a company-wide email asking 3 simple questions. What's the most important thing you remember from security training? Name one thing you do differently now because of this training. And then your third question could be, what would you do if you received a suspicious email right now? Read the responses. I'm guessing, let's just say 60% will not respond at all. The other 30% will give you a vague, generic answer. Be more careful with our passwords. 10% or less will give a specific, actionable response. That 10%, those are the people who are already security conscious before your training. The training didn't change them. It confirmed what they already knew. So what you should actually do, the first thing is kill that annual mega training. Replace it with monthly 3-minute security moments. Short, specific, and relevant. One concept at a time. Make simulations educational, not punitive. When someone clicks a phished or simulated phishing link, don't shame them. Show them immediately what's suspicious and what they should do next time. Make it a learning moment, not a gotcha. Make sure you're sharing real stories, such as this week someone in our company received a phishing email and reported it. Here's what they noticed. Real examples are infinitely more valuable than a generic training, all day long. Next, we have to measure behavior, not completion. Stop celebrating 100% training completion and start measuring suspicious emails reported. Make sure you think about the time between phishing simulations and click. Slower is better because people are actually evaluating. And what security questions are being asked, because engagement is great. Fifth, build a security champion. Identify people in each department who get it. and empower them to be local security resources. Peer education is more effective than corporate training. So here's our bottom line. Security awareness training isn't failing because employees are stupid or don't care. It's failing because we're using the least effective possible method to teach them something that's critically important. We're training security awareness like a compliance checkbox. Everyone must complete the training. Instead, we need to act like it's actual education. Everyone must understand and change a behavior. So here's your uncomfortable truth. Most organizations would get better security outcomes by spending their training budget on a good password manager and automatic phishing protection than on their annual training that nobody remembers. But if you're committed to training, and you should be, do it in a way that acknowledges how humans actually learn, which is frequent, brevity, relevancy, with immediate feedback and positive reinforcement. So here's your Monday morning reality check. Ask 5 random employees what they remembered from last year's security training. If they can't tell you anything specific, your training program is compliance theater, not a behavioral changing engine. And behavioral change is the only thing that actually improves your organization's security. So I'm going to provide you now with a short checklist that you can use as you go into 2026 training. Set up monthly micro learning, not that mega annual training. Make sure you tailor to specific roles and real threats. Use your simulations with immediate educational feedback. Incorporate real examples from your SOC. Do positive shout-outs for good security behavior from your C-levels and their management. Make sure the metrics focus on behavioral change, not completion rates, when you give them to your board. And security champions are established and maintained in each department. And space out the information. Do not dump it all on them on a Monday or the first day of the month. Spread it out over time. So I appreciate you taking time, and I want to share one more nugget with you before we wrap up. Security awareness, just like security, is everyone's job. If you're like me, you have security in your title, but it doesn't stop with me. Security is enabled from the time you wake up until you go to sleep, and it never stops. So your employees need to understand how this applies to them at home, when they're out traveling, and when they're in your corporate office. So remind them, security is everyone's job, not just IT. So until next time, stay safe and stay Security One, and enjoy your Saturday.